Good evening and welcome to Nashville. I'm Alan Jackson. A red line has been drawn in Washington. The congressional leaders of the Democratic Party want to spend more than $1 trillion of your money by expanding health care coverage, including money for people who are here illegally. Well, President Trump has said no, and so too have the Republican members of Congress. Not with the federal debt approaching $38 trillion, and not with the American public already up to their ears in what they currently pay to keep their own families covered by health insurance. Well, joining us tonight, Republican Congressman Buddy Carter from Georgia. Welcome back, sir.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Taxpayers have made it clear that they don't want to pay for any more handouts to people who came here illegally. They've done enough of that already with hotel rooms, food, and free transportation. So they're not at all interested in having their money used to pay for their health care as well. Do you have any idea what the Democrats are thinking when they put this on the table?
Well, first of all, let's be very clear. This is the Schumer shutdown. This is a shutdown that was instigated by Chuck Schumer, John Ossoff, and the Democrats with the intent, as you say, of covering illegals for health care. Something that Americans do not want their hard-earned tax money used for. Something that they voted against when they voted against the One Big Beautiful Bill, or what we're calling the Family Tax Cuts Act, the Working Families Tax Cut Act. That when they voted against that, they voted against prohibiting illegals from being on Medicaid. They voted against preventing Georgians from getting a $5,000 increase in taxes. All of those things they want to reverse, and they want to reverse them, as I say, in the name of getting health care for illegals.
Well, it seems to become clear that the whole idea of the wide open Biden-era border was to get more people to come in and vote for the Democrats. Has there been any evidence that that plan is working?
No evidence whatsoever. In fact, I would submit to you that just the opposite is true. If you think about it, what they're trying to escape in Central America is what the Democrats are trying to create here in America. They don't want this socialism. They don't want to be dependent on the government. They want their freedom. They want their independence. And yet the Democrats think that they're going to come over here and vote for them. And I think they're going to be sorely disappointed in that.
Well, the White House has drawn the line on expanding government health care, and they've done the same thing with the increasing crime in our big cities. Here's how Tom Homan put it.
President Trump brought the National Guard in because what he did, he saved Los Angeles and let ICE go out there and continue to arrest public safety threats and make Los Angeles safer, which we had done. He sent National Guard to Washington, D.C. Look at the amazing work they did in Washington, D.C. Crime rate was reduced greatly. So it's a right formula.
Can you help us with this? Hasn't public safety historically been a bipartisan idea?
Absolutely. And what has changed, I do not know. But the Democrats are proving that whenever there's a 20/80 rule, they're always on the side of the 20%. And it's unbelievable. And you know, President Trump promised two things. It's other things, but two main things that he promised was to make our country more prosperous and to make it safer. And I would submit to you in the first 9 months of his second administration, he has delivered on both of those. He has made our country safer. He's secured our borders. No longer do we have people coming across that border like we'd had before. He has secured our cities. He has made sure our cities are safer. Thank goodness Washington, D.C., where earlier this summer we had 2 interns at the Israeli embassy who were shot and killed. We had another intern from Representative Ron Estes' office in Kansas who was shot in a random shooting. We had a staff member in the administration who was brutally attacked and mugged. All of that stopped now thanks to the work of President Trump. And he's made our country more prosperous. He's bringing back domestic manufacturing. He has passed the Working Families Tax Act, which saves Georgians on average $5,000 in taxes. So he's improving the economy as well. He's delivering on his campaign promises.
Well, still on the subject of crime, I want to ask about the recent revelation that Joe Biden suppressed a CIA report on Hunter Biden's $1 million tie to Ukraine's power company, even while his father was the point person on Ukraine. You know, according to a just released email, Biden pressured the CIA not to release their internal report on Hunter, to hide the evidence of Biden's lucrative Ukraine contract. With so many other things to deal with, it seems a shame that Trump's team has to spend time cleaning up Biden's mess For the long-term sake of the country, we've got to move past this somehow.
It really does, and it brings to light, I think, an even bigger subject, and that is about presidents issuing pardons. Because as we know, the president issued a pardon for his son for anything in the past he's done and anything in the future that he would do. I had a bill that I introduced that said that any pardons have to be signed by hand. They can't be signed by an auto pen. So many, almost all of his, if not all of his pardons were signed by an auto pen. We don't know whether he approved those or not, whether he was behind that. And I'm not sure he knows, to be quite honest with you. So this is corruption at its worst. I mean, this is, I think the Biden family was one of the most corrupt families that we've ever had in the White House.
Well, you know, the biblical principle of forgiveness is predicated upon a willingness to repent. And it seems to me if someone would just say they were sorry, they made poor decisions, that he wasn't fit to be president, it would provide a way for some healing that we could go forward. But I don't expect that much truth to come out of anybody on that side of the aisle right now. Do you?
No, not at all. I don't think you're going to be hearing them say that at all. And as you point out, and rightfully so, I think that's really sad because we do need to get past this. And thank you for pointing out the fact that President Trump, with everything he's doing right now, the president of peace, he doesn't need to be dealing with these kind of things, but he's having to.
Well, some Democrats are claiming that they'll take back control of the House in the midterms next year. What could they possibly run on other than their anti-everything Trump agenda?
Well, and that is what they're running on. And right now, I would submit to you that what's happening with the government shutdown is nothing more than Chuck Schumer trying to anti-Trump more than AOC. He knows he's going to get a challenge from AOC, and he's trying to prove that he's more anti-Trump than she is. But that's what they're going to run against. They're going to run against the president. They're going to be as far against Trump as they can. And it really is sad that you would think that our government would be run in such a way. And I would submit to you that this is the way the Biden-Harris administration did it, is they said, whatever Donald Trump did, we want to do just the opposite. And that's what they did for 4 years.
What's the tone in Georgia? Are they ready to stand behind Trump and his agenda in the midterms?
Absolutely. The president's extremely popular here. He won this state overwhelmingly. That's why we've got to have a change in the Senate. Right now, every statewide elected official in the state of Georgia is a Republican, with the exception of our two senators. They're both Democrats. You got a red state that's represented by two Democrats. President Trump won this state overwhelmingly. He deserves someone from the state of Georgia who's going to support him and his America First policies. The state of Georgia deserves someone in the Senate who's going to support President Trump and his America First policies.
Well, there's a lot more to discuss. Congressman Carter, can you stay with us for another segment?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
We'll be right back. We're back now with Georgia Republican Buddy Carter. Another big headline from Washington last week, news that Biden's FBI and special counsel Jack Smith in particular spied on Republicans in Congress. Senator Grassley called it worse than Watergate, but Democrat Chris Coons would only say that he wants to see more information before he has any comment. Is there any bottom to the deep state?
I don't think so. Evidently not. And let me tell you, this deserves a full investigation. If Jack Smith indeed did this, and it appears he did, with him going and getting the phone records from senators, I mean, if he can do that to a conservative senator, he can do it to any conservative, and even worse, he can do it to any citizen. Anyone should be concerned about this. And after what they did to President Trump, going to his home in Mar-a-Lago and going through everything, his personal belongings, this is something that's got to be investigated, and people need to be held accountable for it.
Well, Attorney General Pam Bondi says they've identified 92 Republicans and GOP-friendly groups that the FBI targeted. Listen to how she explained what's been found out.
As to ending the weaponization of justice, we learned that former FBI secretly investigated you and your colleagues. Why? They wanted to take President Trump off the playing field. They were playing politics with law enforcement powers and will go down as a historic betrayal of public trust. This is the kind of conduct that shatters the American people's faith in our law enforcement system. We will work to earn that back every single day. We are returning to our core mission of fighting real crime.
In your opinion, is this worse than Watergate?
Absolutely, it's worse than Watergate. I mean, this is a case of the FBI trying to get, as Pam Bondi accurately described it, trying to get rid of a president and trying to move him out of the way. And she's absolutely right. This is what it represents is a monumental distrust of the government. If people see this, that the government can do this to a former president, then they think they can do it to anyone. And why wouldn't they think that? And it does lead to a mistrust of the government, and it's just a shame. And that's why these people have to be held accountable. We cannot tolerate this. If we just sweep this under the rug and just say, oh, it's over with, so forget about it. No, we can't do that. We've got to hold people accountable.
Well, the only way to restore trust, I think your point is very important, is we have to do the investigations. We have to expose Fauci and his lies so we can trust the CDC again. We have to expose the shenanigans from Comey to all the things that have been happening so we can restore trust in our government. That's the only way we can go forward, isn't it?
It is the only way we can go forward. If I could insert this, I recently had a resolution that would have removed Ilhan Omar from her committees. Nancy Mace had a bill that would censor her and remove her from her committees. Mine would have only removed her from committees because of anti-Semitic talk lines that she used in a rally. And you know, I was interviewed by the Detroit Free Press, and they were asking me, well, this is the 5th time she's done it. Don't you think you're just wasting your time? Listen, if we become complacent and just accept it, then we're complicit in it and accepting it. We cannot let that happen.
Absolutely. Senator Lindsey Graham says he's going to take former special counsel Jack Smith to court and anyone else who's involved and sue them. What do you think Congress will do?
I think we'll follow suit. I know that Jim Jordan, if he gets a hold of it, he's a bulldog, as we all know, and he'll follow suit. And I applaud Lindsey Graham for what he's doing. He's absolutely right. Again, if we just accept this as normal behavior and, oh, that's just Ilhan being Ilhan, that's just, you know, Jack Smith, he's no longer there, James Comey, he's no longer there. If we just take that kind of attitude, then we're complicit in letting it happen.
Well, I've got one more question before we go. You've managed to accomplish something that's more rare than a 4-leaf clover, a bipartisan plan to help our senior citizens with their Medicare and the telehealth program. You did it with Democrat Debbie Dingell of Michigan. Can you tell us how you got both sides of the aisle to do something for the good of the people?
Well, you know, when it comes to health care, basically we all want the same thing. We want accessible, affordable, quality health care. And accessibility is extremely important, particularly in our rural areas. And telehealth plays such an important role in that. I thank Debbie for working with me on that. I thank the Democrats and the Energy and Commerce Committee for working with me on that, because this makes health care more accessible in America. And that's what we need.
Well, do you think that's a precursor? Do you think Congress is going to work together on a budget? Could we have that hope for the future?
I certainly hope so. But and you know, we need to get the government open again. We're coming up on some important dates here that our troops won't get paid, our government workers won't get paid. That puts a lot of strain on them, unnecessary strain. And you know, they want to negotiate the ACA subsidies. We can negotiate, but open up the government. Let's get the government open, and then we'll negotiate.
Well, Congressman Carter, thank you for coming on our show again. It's a pleasure to get your inside view of things.
Thank you very much. Always a pleasure being with you.
Well, in a moment, signs of hope, and later, your emails and comments on your view of the world. I'll be right back. You know, the violence in our cities has been a persistent issue in recent years. We have major American cities, sanctuary cities, that refuse to enforce federal laws, while they simultaneously demand federal funds. And then if we add to that the illegal immigration, the multiplied millions of people that have entered our country, it's a very disconcerting set of trends. You know, when you light the fuse on anarchy, it's like starting a wildfire. You can't predict what will happen. We have to come back to ourselves. We can be a compassionate nation. We welcome more than 1 million legal immigrants every year. But if we don't maintain our borders, we're going to lose our sovereignty as a nation and as a people. The changes that these trends have already made in our country are staggering. Our healthcare system has fundamentally changed. Our emergency rooms will treat whoever comes in, they're required to, whether they have status, standing, or an ability to pay. It's changed the delivery system of healthcare for all of us. Emergency rooms don't provide the same function they did a decade ago. And that's changed primarily to accommodate the millions, the tens of millions of people who are here without citizenship. Consider that fact when you see congressional leaders refusing to dialogue with each other because they want to spend more than $1 trillion of your money to expand health care coverage for illegal immigrants. It's a very significant problem. And then we just try to wrap it in compassion, and that misses the point of what's happening. These expressions of violence that governors and mayors insist on protecting put all of us at peril. And as God's people, I think we need to pray that we as a nation will be willing to submit to the rule of law. We can change the laws if we don't like them. If we want to welcome 5 million immigrants a year, we can change our laws. But we can't live in a complete state of defiance of the law and imagine that that's going to bring good things to us. As Christ followers, we shouldn't be filled with belligerence, or we certainly shouldn't be violent, but we have to be aware. If we stay silent and we stay out of the discussion, we abandon the places we live to destructive influences, and that's not good. If we will re-engage with the biblical worldview and use our voices, it will restore hope for all of us. Well, I'll be back with your emails in just a moment. Stay with us. Thank you for spending a few minutes of your day with us. Just a reminder, you can always go to ajnow.com. You can sign up for the weekly brief and keep up to date with what's happening with our programming. And thank you for your emails. They are always a highlight. George S. wrote in, your broadcast program, which so adeptly dissects current events, has become an indispensable resource for me. You possess a unique ability to connect global happenings with enduring scriptural principles, helping your audience, myself included, to understand the spiritual and societal ramifications of what we observe daily. This perspective is not only profoundly enlightening, but also deeply comforting, continually reinforcing my faith and equipping me to navigate the world with greater discernment and hope. Thank you for your tireless efforts in this vital work. Well, George, I'm quite confident your email is more eloquent than I am, but I agree with the premise that God's people engaged in cultural discussion is essential and brings the best future for all of us. Thank you for being a part of that. Judy B. from Palmdale, she said, thank you for the interview with VA Secretary Doug Collins. We recently received an increase in my husband's VA disability. You're the best, Pastor. God bless you bunches. Well, you're most welcome. I thought the interview with Doug Collins was very helpful. You know, as a little monitor for all of us, Congress is asking these days, the Senate is asking for more money for health care. Until our veterans have the best health care in our nation, I don't believe the government should be involved in anybody else's health care. Let them keep their promise to our veterans, and then we can talk about their engagement in health care beyond that. Until then, I'm not interested. Jared P. from Florida commented, I want to talk to you about how words are powerful, that God hears everything we say. Charlie Kirk was asked in an interview for the one thing he wanted to be remembered for. You could tell it wasn't on his radar. It was an out-of-the-blue question by the way he responded. He said, if I die, then I want to be remembered for courage in my faith. Well, God fulfilled it for him. Seems like nobody caught that. Thanks. Well, Jared, thank you for the reminder. Charlie was a strong voice for faith, and now it's our turn to take that baton and be a voice in our own spheres of influence. If we'll do that, it'll lead us to good outcomes. And finally, a viewer on YouTube, the episode with Alex Marlowe said, thank you, Pastor Alan Jackson. You're always putting the truth out and speaking about the difficult subjects. God bless you, your family, and staff. Well, I will join you inviting God's blessings on my family and staff. They work really hard. I may sit in front of the lights, but there's a lot of smart people that make this possible. and we're delighted to spend a few minutes with you each day. God is moving in the earth. I want to be a part of that, and I believe you do too. I'm Alan Jackson, and I pray you have a wonderful evening.